Yo, what is going on, you guys? It's your boy Aries from Aries Cream Productions, and today I just wanted to kind of go over some stuff that I just basically had some kind of revelations on during, I guess, kind of my week that I was away this week. I wasn't able to kind of go on to some of the bigger topics that are going on just within the gaming industry in total, and just kind of some things that are going on. So, wanted to kind of give my intake on it. I'm sure me and probably Professor Diehard will probably end up doing a video similar to this, but I know just for now at least, I wanted to kind of give my 2 cents on it, and then just kind of call it that. So, um, the first thing that I think I really have to talk about is The Last of Us. Mainly just The Last of Us Part 2. To give you guys an idea of how big of a fan I was of the first game, I played it probably throughout 2013 to 2014. I played it for like a year. I did the single player, and I played the crap out of the multiplayer. And it was just really fun. I enjoyed the story and the multiplayer of it. So, I don't feel like I have too much of a whole lot of bias as far as just like never playing the first one and then not playing the second one, because I unfortunately looked at the leaks before the game came out, and what I saw I didn't like, so I decided I'm not going to spend $60 on this thing that I already know how it ends. And even now, like, after people have posted their walkthroughs of it, I've actually seen the very end of the game, basically where people do their kind of their walkthroughs of basically the entire story part of the section at least. And I just was just from watching what I did see, I don't know. I wasn't impressed in the fact that they try to do the revenge story. Um, because they probably did have a very good like setup for it. Was that? And just so you know, I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to skip through this part of the video, because I'm going to talk about spoilers for The Last of Us. I've seen the entire game, so if you haven't, if you want to play the game, you should probably skip this video to about 3 minutes or so, and I'll give a little bit of time just to kind of wait on it. Okay, so if you're in this part of the video, you know basically what's going to happen at the end of The Last of Us, and even just during the entire game. So the game basically has you take control of Joel in the first little bit. Fun story, you get to play as the main character of the last game for about 5 minutes, and he's on horseback the entire time. So you can't even play as him. So just forget about that dumbass character, right? The guy that you spent playing like literally 3/4 of the game with. Yeah, the last game. Yeah, forget about his dumbass. But then you would think, okay, we'll get to play as Ellie more, right? Incorrect. You get to play with her maybe about 15 of maybe the 20 to 25 hours of it, if you take like your time and like go through the story, I guess, or just playing the game. But 10 of those hours you're going to be playing as Abby, who is the basically the new antagonist, or kind of like, I think they tried to set her up as an anti-hero. They did a really bad job of it, and I want to go into that just a little bit, but just kind of what they did with The Last of Us in the story. So I think a lot of us knew that Joel was going to die. I didn't want him to die, because I honestly felt like Joel's story was completed at the end of The Last of Us 1, and having Ellie pissed off over Joel dying would make sense if it was at maybe kind of the last part of the game. Like, if Joel had to come with her and he had to die, okay. Like, I would have accepted that just as a realistic story if they had made me invest in the story. From what I had watched from most of the stuff, I'm not invested in the story. Who gives a fuck about this story? You literally play more than half of the game. I wouldn't say more than half. I'll say maybe, let's say 40%. Let's just give it a generous percentage and say you play 40% of the game as Abby. Okay. So, just imagine yourself. In what world do you imagine you playing The Last of Us and go, I want to play as somebody besides Joel and Ellie? Just sit there and let that simmer for a little bit. Why do you want to play as anybody but these two characters? You know what? I'll even let you get away with this if you want to defend the story. You could have even played as fucking Tommy, and it would have been fine by me for 40% of the game. They want to throw Tommy in there? Tommy's, I would assume, is maybe like, what, he's younger? So at least that makes more sense for him to go out into the world and, like, do it. Because Joel's fucking old by the time of The Last of Us. And he's not as old as the game wants you to believe. But, I mean, Joel's probably in his like, upper 40s or 50s. Because he probably had Sarah by the time he was, like, maybe in his 20s. And I think The Last of Us Part 1 takes place after Sarah dies, 20 years after that. So let's just say he's 20 when Sarah dies. He'd be 40 by the time of The Last of Us. And he'd be 41 by the end of The Last of Us, probably. Because he probably would have had his birthday by then. So, and from what people were saying, you know, the time skip is kind of weird with The Last of Us 2. They don't really clarify how much time has passed. But let's just say it's 8 years. So that would make Joel 49, maybe, at the latest. So a 49-year-old guy who's literally been through it since he was, let's say in his 20. Let's say he was just 20 when he had Sarah. Or not, well, he wouldn't have been 20. If Sarah was that old when he probably had it. So let's say Joel's in his, like, late 50s. I know some strong motherfuckers in their late 50s. Like bodybuilders in their late 50s. Not even bodybuilders, just strong-ass guys in their late 50s. Not to mention, Joel basically had no reason to trust people. He has no reason to trust people at all. And he ran over a guy in The Last of Us 1. And Ellie was like, oh, he's hurt. And he's like, nah, this guy ain't hurt. He literally runs over him with a truck while everybody starts to shoot at him. So, like, not only is it out of character for Joel to trust Abby when he saves her, like, to just go where they have a bunch of fucking people there. Because Joel wouldn't have done that in The Last of Us. He would have been like, you know what, yeah, you know, your folks can meet us over in town. How about that? You know, we're in control of the situation. You didn't look like you were in control very much, you know, Dickie McGee's acts, essentially. So, I mean, it's basically just that. I mean, she didn't have control. You say, hey, you either come with us or you die, as opposed to Joel and Tommy going, hey, we need to find out where your group is or we die. They had horses, for God's sakes. They could outrun not even the walkers. I'm thinking of the Walking Dead. They could outrun the zombies. They have fucking horses. I don't give a shit if it's in the blizzard. Horses are extremely fast animals, and they can haul ass whether they're on grass or whether they're on snow. These beasts can haul ass. So it's just this entire thing of basically, like, just fuckery with his character, because his character would have never have done that. His character would have said, hey, you know what, Abby, you seem like a nice person. Let's take you back on over to the facility where we can, you know, if you bit or something, you know, we can at least try to take care of you, or let's just say if you got a couple of scratches and bruises from falling off a mountain or something, we can at least treat you there. So just going back to their group. Then they give up their names. Tommy's the first one to do it. And they don't get these people who were hunting Joel don't give a shit about Tommy. Like, they don't know he's Joel's brother. So Joel could have literally like made up a name. He would have been like, "Yeah, I'm fucking Mark." Like, and then the credits roll after that. That would have literally been it. But for some reason, they both acted like dumbasses and told them both their names, their like names, their full names. Well, not their full names, but just their names. And then, which I know a lot of people are probably going to end up kind of bitching over this, I'm about to say. Then, one of the most beloved characters of the 2010s gets beaten to death with a golf club for no fucking reason. For no reason. People can try to say that, well, Abby, if you understand the story behind Abby, like she's mad because Joel killed her dad when Ellie was trying to have the cure pulled out of her or whatever, or they were trying to get the cure from Ellie. Okay, let's just say that's the case. Let's just say that's fine. The way that you do characters in cinema, story, or video game is different from what it is in real life. In real life, people die like trash. There's no argument about that. People do that. When you do a game, or when you do a movie, or even a video game, for that matter, there's a certain level of investment that you've already delved into that character, or that you've already kind of invested in that character, to where you're interested to see where the story goes. So if the main character for the first game dies in the first 2 hours of the game, that only leaves you one character that you actually give a shit about. What is the recipe for success in this formula that they've concocted? What is it? If anybody sees this video and wants to comment, I'm more than willing to go head to head on this, because I played The Last of Us before it even came out on remaster. I played this shit on the PS3. I played it when it first came out. The first week that it came out, I got it. I played the hell out of that game, because it's honestly one of my most revered single player experiences that I've had when I was growing up, when I was younger. I was probably 17 when I first played that game. And it just doesn't make any sense to me why Neil Druckmann and whatever the other bitch's name is that writes for Kotaku, whatever the fucking bullshit article stuff that she writes for. I don't care, but I think it's oh Jesus, I can't remember her name. She's not important, but I remember her name if she came up, or if I saw her name mentioned. But she basically came up with like this really bullshit thing that she didn't have anything to influence the game, even though Neil Druckmann, the guy who is directly responsible for the creation of The Last of Us and the story stuff for it, like fully admitted that he was influenced by her, by this reporter. And this reporter was known for having like very like kind of like kooky ideas and stuff, and just kind of like really out there, like left field type of ideas. And so I think he kind of got in his head too much, and at least she did. And it just seems like he sacrificed what the people wanted in the story mode, and what people wanted in the story, for basically just this type of like, I don't know how else to say it, but like 2020 kind of like super woke slash, if you don't like this story, or if you're you're a bigot, or if you don't like the story, you just don't really understand The Last of Us. Really. The people who fucking played the game, you're gonna blame the consumers for not liking your product. What if your product is just shit? What if it's just shit, Neil? Huh? What are you gonna do? Gonna blame the public for people just thinking that your game's ass? And then call them bigots for not liking it because either they don't like Ellie being a lesbian, or that they think that people thought that Abby was trans. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. There's no evidence to support the fact that Abby's trans. Abby's a built girl. I've seen bigger built girls than Abby. I mean, trust me. I've like in the real world, I've seen some female bodybuilders, and they look way more masculine than Abby did. So, I think Abby's fine. Also voiced by Laura Bailey, one of the most, I think, one of the most revered voice actresses of all time. Honestly, Laura Bailey's been in just about everything you fucking watched in or played in a video game, or even watched in a cartoon, or an anime. So, I mean, you know, the people, I will say this about the game, the people who did the voice acting for it should not be blamed for the story, and how they had to portray the characters. I'm sure Laura Bailey, like, put her heart and soul into that character because she knew the type of reputation that this game had. And, you know, just because of all the other work she's done, and I've heard her work on The Last of Us just from watching the cutscenes, and she does a good job in doing the actual voice acting for the character. Like, putting the actual emotion behind it. Laura Bailey gets a 10 out of 10, because she had the job of pushing 100 pounds, or really 200 pounds of idiot up a mountain, and hoping that the player base liked it. So, I do not envy Laura Bailey in her task of voice acting that character, because knowing how this game's probably received, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna make another one. The Last of Us 2 is probably gonna be the end of that universe, because where do you go from there? Especially for, alright, so for everybody who didn't skip the spoiler part of it, you really need to skip this part. Go ahead and close out the video, because we're going to talk about the end of it. So, Ellie and Dina, you know, have their kid there, and they're raising it basically in California, because Ellie has heard some rumors that somebody that sounds like, or that sounds like, what's the character's name? Fuck, I forgot what her name is, but it's the character where I just said it, but it's basically the character Laura Bailey plays. Abby, yes. So yeah, see, I can't even fucking remember her name. That's just how unimportant she is to me in this universe. So she gets a rumor that Abby, like someone that fits the description of Abby, is in California, and she basically goes there and is able to like maybe find, or at least able to avenge Joel finally. So they get into a big tussle. Abby bites off like 2 of her fingers, and right when Ellie is about to kill her, she decides to grow a conscience and lets her leave with Levi. Or Lev, or whatever her name is. I think it's Lev. I think Lev is the actual one that's actually transgender in the game, but let's just leave the whole transgender politics out of it. Let's just say Lev is just somebody. It's still the most dissatisfying thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Ellie kills how many people during The Last of Us 2? And then when it comes to the person that kills, the only person that she's probably really known as a father figure for the past couple of years, literally gets beaten to death with a golf club in front of her. She goes, "Nope, you're free to go." And people are really seriously calling this a 10 out of 10 revenge story. IGN giving it a masterpiece 10 out of 10. Because, ooh, the lighting, sound, this is... You know why I wouldn't even give Final Fantasy, the game that you're looking at right now, I wouldn't even give this a 10 out of 10. Because I think there are some issues with this game. Even though I am in fucking love with the remake for Final Fantasy 7. I'm in love with this. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10. I can literally list off reasons, and I think I did that during, talk I had with Professor Diehard, but it has to do with the side quests and stuff. Like, that's the only reason I think that the game has a serious problem with side quest stuff, and it slows down the pace of the game and just stuff like that. But with The Last of Us 2, there's just... The characters don't make sense with the choices that they make based off of the first game. Nothing makes sense based off of the characters themselves and how they're acting. Not just the choices they make, how they're acting. My third thing would be basically from what I've seen from the gameplay and from all the stuff, they've done a little bit with the gameplay. Like, as far as just the combat, from everything else. People are saying this is like, oh my god, it's so brutal. You guys play Mortal Kombat 11 yet? You think that shit's brutal? Go play Mortal Kombat 10 or 11. I guarantee you, you're going to see some vastly more brutal shit than what you saw in The Last of Us 2. I mean, yeah, I guess it's more real because it seems more realistic, whereas Mortal Kombat is kind of cartoonish in their fatalities. But I mean, Mortal Kombat's about one of the most gory things you could possibly get in today's age. I mean, they literally have people getting dragged by their nutsack and literally ripped in half from their nuts. I mean, The Last one's got some disturbing stuff, but I mean, nobody's getting ripped from their nutsack apart. I mean, like, goddamn. But nobody's getting their spine ripped out either. But okay, so the entire idea that people are disliking it for the gore stuff, well, I've got some bad news for you. There's a much more gorier, there's vastly more disturbing and gorier games out there that have you actually perform the action instead of just watching it. That is much more horrific than what we see in The Last of Us 2. So the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on just from The Last of Us, because honestly, I know me and Di and maybe PT Monster and Bob might maybe go into this a little bit more once we all get time to kind of get together and just kind of sit down and chat about it. And I would have wanted to probably do one on my stream, but there's just something about this game that feels like it has been defiled. Like the entire universe they set up with is just like, it just feels tainted in a way that I didn't want the game to be, because the first game, just The Last of Us, did not deserve a sequel. It ended perfectly to where it leaves the choices from what Naughty Dog was known for the storytelling, and just goes, hey, you know what? You get to decide, what you think about the ending of it. Did Joel make the right decision at the end of The Last of Us? Does Ellie have a right to know what happened to the Fireflies and to her during the surgery? Does anybody really have a right to blame Joel or do this stuff? These are the type of questions that were kept getting, kind of thrown around at the end of the game. And it really made you fucking think about just choices. Just the choices in real life that people make. Not just in video games. The choices that people would have possibly made in real life. That was the essence of The Last of Us. And The Last of Us 2, well, you don't know what fucking choice anybody's making because nobody can make up their fucking mind. Like, people were saying, I'm gonna kill it, like Ellie, when she finds out Joel died. I'm gonna kill every last one of them. No, she didn't. Fucking changed her mind real quick. She can kill everybody. So that's just a betrayal of what the character is doing in the media. In the media that you are perpetuating on the audience. Just the audience in general. The narrative that you're doing is completely farcical. And I think once people actually know that, once they see that, then they'll have a much better understanding of why people are doing this. Even if you explained Abby's story even just 20% more of what they did in the game, of why she wanted to kill Joel, then that would have made us even more sympathetic to Abby, because I really did think that people going into this game probably saw some of the leaks and were like, okay, well, Abby can't be that bad of a character. And honestly, just from the voice acting that Laura Bailey does, and just in the story that they probably wanted to, I could tell that they wanted to set up for her, I don't feel like she would have been that bad of a character had they had done something else with the character. If they would have explained it a little more. If they would have just came out and said, hey, you know what? Abby didn't give a shit. Like, if they would have just came out and said that, okay. Maybe if she didn't give a shit, that's fine. If she literally, like, went there for the sole purpose of murdering Joel and nothing else, and it's just up to Ellie to find her and kill her, oh, you've got yourself, you may have yourself a 8 or a 9 out of 10 for the story at that point. Because Ellie has purpose in this. She would have had a motive. She would have had a being. There would have been stakes in this fucking game. But instead, no. What we get treated to is a half-baked, half-assed story with really no explanation for the protagonist, Ellie, or the antagonist, Abby. We don't get a satisfying ending for Joel in his story, who was basically the most beloved one of the most beloved characters of the 2010s. I would dare say maybe in all of fiction, as far as gaming goes. Maybe not as just fiction as far as like actual things that have been written or produced or as an art form. But at least for me, that's what it is. I think Joel's one of the most interesting characters in fiction. But I know some people don't view Joel as that. Some people just view Joel as a psychotic murderer that's just trying to do his job and escorting Ellie around the country. Okay, fine. Let's say you even think that. At The Last of Us 1, did you not feel anything towards the end of the game for him? If you didn't, well, Abby makes fucking perfect sense for you. You're an idiot, but it makes perfect sense to you. But if you did feel something for Joel at the very end of The Last of Us, even if you just watched the cutscenes for it, then you know what type of just the pain, the anguish, the struggle, the survival aspects that are with Joel throughout this entirety of this universe they created. Then you know the way that he dies is ridiculous. The way that he's portrayed in this game is ridiculous. Except for some of the subtle moments with him and Ellie. There's some moments that are, I would say, would probably be worth their own game. You know, if they would have not done The Last of Us 2 and would have just done a, like, you know, let's just say The Last of Us 2.1 or whatever, where it's just Joel and Ellie when Ellie's older, and it's just her and Joel out, like, hunting, like, you know, some stuff for the supplies for the camp. And then, like, Ellie starts getting suspicions about, you know, what Joel's done in the past, or what he did, like, a couple years ago. And then bringing that stuff up about, you know, him and the Fireflies, about the facility. Like, I just gave you a better way to do The Last of Us 2. I literally just gave you the blueprint on how to do it right. You could still have Joel and Ellie older. You could still have Joel die. But it doesn't mean a goddamn thing. If you betray the character, if you betray the motives of the character, if you betray the very essence of the character just to suit your own narrative of what you want the game to end up being, even if you know it's going to make the fans mad. That they literally came out and said, I don't know if it was just Neil Druckmann or Naughty Dog, but they just said, "Oh, you're literally not going to like this game," and people still bought it. These fucking dumbasses. The gaming company that made the game themselves said, "Yeah, you're probably not going to like this game." Okay, well, why the fuck am I buying it? Why am I buying it? For your silly ass shit? For you to tell some half-assed debacle narrative? No, that's not why I'm buying your game. I'm buying your game to have fun. I'm buying your game to at least be intrigued in what I'm playing. Just like with the game that you're seeing right now. With this game, Final Fantasy VII. I'm so upset. I mean, I wish I could just have my face on this broadcast right now. Because I'm so upset. This was one of my favorite single player franchises of all time. Because I really even after I played the story, I went back and watched people on YouTube, and I just watched multiple people play through the game over and over again, just so I could see their reactions to what I reacted to when I played the game. I didn't do that with this one. With The Last of Us 2. I watched one guy's playthrough. That was all I needed to see. Didn't give a shit after that. Watched his whole playthrough, from beginning to end. And once I got to the end, I said, man, I'm never gonna look at this shit again. And it's just such a shame. I mean, people wondering why Naughty Dog developers were leaving the company because it worked like shit. Apparently, there's some bad conditions at Naughty Dog, but where they were making you work overtime and severe overtimes and stuff like that. But yeah, just it's just awful. I mean, there's no explanation to what most of the characters do. There's no explanation as to why they do it. They just do shit, and you're just kind of expected to believe it. So, yeah, fuck me, right? I mean, this is what it seems like. It seems like they designed the game to where if you didn't like it, then just because of certain things in the game, like because of Ellie's sexuality, or because people thought Abby was trans, or because they thought that Neil Druckmann was one of the characters that got kind of did the mocap on and spit on Joel when he died or whatever. I don't believe in any of that shit. I don't think because Neil Druckmann himself, he was like, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything. I wasn't mocapped or anything like that. So I'll believe him on that. Like, I don't think he's gonna be like, yeah, I want to be this mocap in this shitty ass game. He probably was like, oh no, I want to stay the fuck away from this as much as possible. So, after he realizes the hot garbage fire he was about to release, but so let's just say that that's the case, and let's say that you like the gameplay of the game, just the raw gameplay, which I'll admit the gameplay is better from The Last of Us 2 or The Last of Us Part 1. The Last of Us Part 2, the gameplay wise, I have no doubt is better than The Last of Us Part 1 because The Last of Us Part 1 had some stuff where I had some gripes about it, like there's some areas that feel like you were doing like more like chores than you were actual like survival stuff. So I can understand that, and I'm behind that 100%. But just like in this game, like Final Fantasy 7 Remake, 9 out of 10. What keeps it from being a 10 out of 10? Well, there's some certain stuff. Like, I mean, there's some times where the game like froze it for me once. There's a time where the dialogue won't come through. Some technical things that Square Enix is kind of known for. But one of them was just that it's the side quest stuff. I mean, you go from like kind of balls to the walls action to all the side quest stuff where it slows the game down so much to where my buddy Professor Diehard, he hasn't even finished it yet because he thinks he has to do all the side quest missions. You don't have to do them. I mean, you miss out on some stuff if you do, like some materia and some other stuff like that. You don't have to do them. You can play the game without it. But I feel like when you first play through, like you're trying to do all the quests and stuff, like some of them are frustrating. You don't know how to actually do it. So, just some stuff like that. So let's just say you've done like I've done. You've done everything you can. You've done everything in your power to like make the game like bearable, and then like just basically have that kind of ripped out in front of you. And I don't blame people. Again, I really don't blame people for doing a whole lot of stuff. But with the game, it's just as far as reviews and the review scores and what they're thinking about with their reviews, and I really don't blame them for anything. I absolutely do not, and I think it's sad. I think it's really sad to basically shit on a franchise that has done so much for gaming as far as single player content, and then basically just ruin it. So I mean, if Naughty Dog comes out with an Uncharted 5, I'm not buying that shit because I mean, I like Uncharted, but I don't like it as much as The Last of Us. I'll go ahead and say that right now. A lot of people will probably get mad at me for saying that. The Uncharted games are not as character compelling as The Last of Us. The Last of Us was lightning in a bottle. And they tried to do the same thing with Part 2, and they fucked it up because they pandered. And they neutered the game, and they neutered the characters, and didn't let them be who the characters were, and that was just the end of that. So, and they introduced a character that nobody likes, and because they killed one of their favorite characters in the first 2 hours of the game. But I mean, hey, that's just kind of my take on it. So, but so that's my news on The Last of Us. That's kind of my news and hot take of what the game's actually means to me, that I've actually seen the game and I've seen the ending. Not to mention the leaks that I saw too. So I actually did get to see the leaks, and I mean, for the vast majority part of it, they were right. So I mean, that's what it is. And if any of the Naughty Dog people leaked it, I don't blame them, because they probably realized, oh wow, this is actually shit. And then they released it to the public, and they said, look what they're doing to the game they're about to make you buy for $60. So, yeah, the hell with them. I mean, I'm probably not going to buy another Naughty Dog game. I mean, yeah, literally to hell with them. They've fucked up one of the most endearing single-player experiences ever. A game that didn't need a sequel, and they decided to do it anyway for money. And because some corporate guy told them, hey, if you make this game, you're gonna make a lot of money from these fucking streamers. All these Twitch streamers and everything, man, they're gonna get tons of money from you guys doing it. Well, yeah. Well, as soon as the Twitch streamers see it, they're not gonna donate. They're gonna think this guy's an asshole for playing this shit ass game in front of all of us. So it's completely worthless. Completely fucking worthless. Congratulations, you played yourself, and it's just so bad. I mean, it's honestly so bad that I can't think about any other time where I've been so pissed off about the revelation of a single player game since probably Mass Effect 3. And it'll probably be that way for a very long time. So I have no desire to play this game. I will not be spending $60 on this absolute hot garbage fire. Especially when they fucked up my characters that I love so much. I won't be doing it. And maybe once Naughty Dog goes under, some of those people who actually have some, artistic, creative freedom, It may be the same people who designed The Last of Us 2, because graphically it's fantastic, but just everything else in the gameplay is kind of it's questionable. So just remember that whenever you guys want to go try to buy this game, just don't do it. Do not do it. It's ass. It's absolute ass. And I just don't know what to do with it. I don't. I saw the ending for the first time about 2 days ago, so maybe my opinion will change, maybe in the next, year or two or so, whatever. If it does, just tag me in the video and then just point to this video, because I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to do it. How am I ever going to be able to trust the people who are going to make this this series over again? It's going to be awful. I mean, just imagine the CGI Saren for Mass Effect. It'd be ridiculous. They'd make him into some type of like fucking Gundam mech monster. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of, it's bad. I mean, it's just really bad. So but anyway, that's kind of my rant for the night. Again, sorry I couldn't stream a little bit more often with the guys, because I've been kind of out and about for the past couple of days. So, but hopefully you guys will check out Professor Diehard's channel. Does really good work. He actually just posted something on Rainbow Six, which we were trying to get the guys to kind of get together to play as. Which I found some really awesome guys tonight that I played with that was just on random chat, so that was pretty cool. But having the squad with us will be pretty dope. But yeah, just remember these these companies don't care for you. They don't. They don't give a shit about you. They'll take your money and they'll keep taking your fucking money over and over and over and over again. They won't give a hot hoover damn about you. And maybe that's just what I'm tired of. Maybe it's just that mindset. But because they know they're gonna make money. I mean, people know this, but anyway. So, for whoever finds this video, I hope you're not too mad about The Last of Us, because I'm furious. But if you are, just make sure to like, comment, subscribe on the video. Make sure to check out my boy Professor Diehard, who is the doctor of Ganesh. But if PT Monster had a YouTube channel, I would tell you to check out him. But he just kind of comes on for our chats. But if he ever did, you should definitely follow him. But yeah, this will be probably my one of my few recordings on The Last of Us 2, because quite frankly, I just don't give a shit about this franchise after I saw what happened. So even if they kept the franchise going for 20 years, I wouldn't give a hot damn about it. So that's just my take on it. But anyway, but thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed my little talk here. But I will see you guys on the flip side. So long, deuces, and peace out. Don't buy that game.